We are here together as a bipartisan group asking that justice for Michael Morganti be served. That horrific day in 1980 marked the death of Michael Morganti by David Weidert in a violent and barbaric murder. Despite the nature of the crime and his sentence of life in prison, he has been granted parole. But it is clear inmate Weidert still lacks insight into his crime and continues to present a serious risk to our public safety and does not meet the merit of parole.
Mike was a vulnerable 20-year-old developmentally disabled young man. David Weidert used him. He used him to serve as a lookout to commit a burglary. And when Mike spoke to law enforcement, Weidert silenced him in the most unimaginable way possible. He lured him into a vehicle and he took him to an isolated location where he was stabbed, brutally beaten, and forced to dig his own grave. Inmate Weidert needs to remain in custody because he is still a threat to our society. His life sentence remains relevant today because 35 years later, he still cannot begin to explain why he took Mike's life.
My family has sat 5 feet from David Weidert 6 times, and he quite literally lacks the insight necessary to rejoin society. DAs and victims advocates have been there with us over the years, and they have seen it too. He does not have a moral compass. He is still very detached and non-emotional about the murder and the details of what he did to Mike. Ask yourself what kind of evil, demented person commits the kind of mental and physical torture to an unarmed person that is developmentally disabled who is begging you to stop for hours. And think about how intimate this was. How close do you have to be to stab someone over and over as they're begging you to stop? Weidert could feel Mike's skull cracking under the bat and the sound that it made. Ribs cracking from the bat and the shovel. Finally, Weidert and his accomplice had to get right next to Mike together to get the wire around his neck and pull it tight. That is a very intimate crime. Think of the sounds, the smells, and the blood. This went on for hours, people. And ladies and gentlemen, do you know what they did after they left Mike up there to die in the grave? They hosed off outside Weidert's house, took showers, bought some marijuana and beer, and met up with some 15-year-old girls to party. Then they bragged about it to others. He is evil, even 35 years later.
Weidert's violent murder is etched in the victim's family's memory forever, and at the very least, they deserve justice to be served by Weidert serving his full sentence of life in prison. Governor Brown, you are the only person left that can deliver justice to this family and especially to Michael.
Mike was also really good at some stuff that we don't talk about. We talk about his death, but I want you to know what my brother was good at. He was a good rock and tree climber. He was good with a slingshot. He was really good at hide and seek and sock tag. He was a good bike rider, and he taught me how to ride without holding onto the handlebars. He was really fun to play Hot Wheels cars with. I still like Hot Wheels cars because of my brother. He was also a risk taker. I think everybody thinks of developmentally disabled as we kind of have to lead them around, but I'm telling you, there are so many out there that are risk takers. And you have to be a risk taker to survive that kind of a struggle in your life. He told these really awesome, stupid jokes that made you laugh because he laughed and his face would get all scrunched up. He loved ice cream a lot, and animals, and souped up cars, like in the 70s and 80s, the kit cars. He was a total goofball, and he was perfect. So when people ask us about the pain we've been through as a family or at Christmas, and what was life like without Mike, it's not our pain that haunts us. It's Mike's pain, quite literally. We do this, we ask for your support and write letters to the governor asking him to please overturn Weidert's grant of parole for this reason. Because the hours it took Weidert to beat and stab Mike while he dug his own grave and he didn't fight back. He begged them to stop. He said he wouldn't testify against Weidert. And the whole time, I know Mike really expected them to stop. He did everything Weidert asked, even laying down in the grave when they asked to make sure it was big enough. Mike thought they were friends, and as my sweet, perfect, vulnerable brother, was bleeding from the beatings and stabbings and barely able to breathe with the cord tied around his neck in that dark, shallow grave, I feel him there. I feel like I'm there. And he's all alone, wondering why Weidert did this. Why are people so mean? And he died with those thoughts. That's our pain. That's our nightmare. That's what I have nightmares about. We're all here, Mike. I'm sorry we weren't there that day. We get it. There are a lot of wonderful people in the world, just like you, and they are helping. I wish you could see it and see them.
Do the right thing. Reverse the parole board's decision. This bipartisan group of legislators will support you, Governor. We ask you for your support.